Happy Monday, Facebook friends. It's a little bit rainy this Monday, but of course we can probably use that rain with all the hot weather we've had over the last week. It's Monday, so you know what time it is. It's Mondays with the mayor. Hello, Mayor Pat. How are you doing today?
I'm terrific.
You're
How are you?
terrific. Good,
I
good.
like the rain.
I don't mind it so much. My plants can use it after that
Yes.
past weekend of 105 heat index temperature.
Well, the plants and the grass sing when the rain comes. So
Absolutely.
nice.
Absolutely. So I know there's a couple things you want to talk about today, but let's start off. There was an article in the Galveston Daily News over the weekend, if folks saw it, regarding Epicenter, which
Yes.
was kind of a pre-development we're looking at. Why don't you, I know you want to talk about that today,
I
so
do.
I'll hand it off to you.
For those that may just be joining the conversation, Epicenter was a development project that's right next to UTMB on Highway 96. It's where the Chester Davis Sportsplex is. And about 2 years ago, we started looking for developers who would come in, develop the area. We went and got the laws changed. Dr. Greg Bonnet and Larry Taylor, our senator, changed those laws so that we would have a revenue stream to pay for a convention center. There's not one that's close. And the hotels have, small to medium size convention centers. All the experts indicated that there was a good market for that. And
Right, because we really don't. Let's talk about that a little bit. We have South Shore, which has a little bit of meeting space, but not to hold a large, conference or convention. They're kind of limited. We have Houston way up the road, GRB, but that's for really large conventions. And then we have Galveston, but really there's kind of a sweet spot right there by Hobby Airport for us to be in the convention center business and hold conferences. And we've done analysis to show that we have a space here that could really, really work for that.
We do. Scott Livingston, our economic development director, put the packages together, he and David Hoover, and we think that it's a good opportunity. What's particularly hard right now is nobody seems to be able to access the capital necessary to do this. We may have a revenue stream through the change in the laws to pay for the convention center, but you got to get it built. And that's a $70 million expense.
And we're not interested in footing the bill for that. So let's be clear. We're trying to look for a private partnership that could be, essentially pay for this, and essentially the property where the Butler Sportsplex is would become that area. And we're kind of like the landlords, I guess you would say.
Well, it's Chester Davis.
Chester Davis. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Chester
over I'm sorry.
And his son, the local orthodontist. Anyway, it is a sweet spot. We bought that property for $14,000 an acre 25 to 30 years ago. It's valued somewhere around $1 million an acre today. UTMB has expanded, and they have bought a bunch of the property back there, as well as the development group, the Epicenter Development Group. Great idea of what they wanted to do. And of course, we said from day one, when you do this, and this is what makes this such a unique project, you cannot get started on a convention center or any of the other private sector, public-private partnerships until you come up with the $35 million to move the Chester Davis Sportsplex to the other side of the freeway.
Right.
And that's been somewhat of a stumbling block. Without that, they probably have the money to make it all work. But we did not want to use 4B funds for that. We thought if they were going to be displaced, and frankly, we're out of room at the sports.
We are over capacity there. We're turning people away left or right. It is at maxed out there. We need more recreational facilities, and we know that.
And we have 109 acres just immediately across I-45. So we looked at that. We thought it was a good fit. The folks who we had the pre-development agreement with had everything going their way until it came time to start moving the sportsplex and the capital necessary. Markets are funny. We went to a convention this year, talked to a lot of people who do this, and their first question is, are you going to become an equity partner in this development? And we said no. We already are somewhat of an equity partner because, frankly, we own the land. We'll lease it for a long term. We got the law changed, and so we have 4 or 5 different little little tax issues that'll be funneling into paying for the convention center. But we don't have the funds up front, and that's the public-private
Right.
part of this. The private sector will do it. So we're on our way. We're really happy with what the Epicenter people are doing in and around the 50 acres that we own. They bought property.
Mm-hmm.
They've got some pretty good name folks coming in, and I think they have 2 contracts already. And you probably saw at the last council meeting, we had a debate about whether or not we were going to have limited service hotels or full service. And, our staff told us for now, maybe what we would be smart to do would put the limited service on hold
Mm-hmm.
and try to create more of a market for the full service.
So your limited service just is kind of like it's just a standalone hotel, doesn't really have any meeting space, usually a little bit less money, $100, a little bit over 100.
Yeah.
And then your full service has more of your meeting space, your spa, your activities, your pool, more of your upscale kind of full service hotel.
And we have people looking at a full service hotel, but until that convention center flies, it's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, when you get into about a $500 million project,
Yeah.
you're going to have some hiccups.
Yeah.
We're in this for the long haul. Nobody's going anywhere. Nobody's mad at anybody. I think the comments in the paper from myself and one other council person was that there's a level of frustration
Mm-hmm.
because we got our necks out there. We told the youth sports people what was going on. And, of course, they believe everything's going to happen tomorrow. And we're a little more practical about it. It's going to take a little time, but that's okay. We're not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. We still own some very valuable property right there by UTMB. They're expanding. We're really proud of what they're doing. And there's room there for us, and there's room there for the activities that we've had planned.
I think we're still very optimistic, just listening
yeah.
to you and the other council members
Yeah.
and city staff, that we're very optimistic. And something like this certainly doesn't happen overnight. The amount of work that goes into, I say, dotting the I's and crossing the T's and all of that. And I think if anything, the frustration is, wow, we'd like to have it today, right?
Yeah.
We'd like to have this right away.
Yesterday.
Hosting conventions in our city. And let's talk a little bit about that. Some folks go, whoa, we need this in our city. We want to stay the small bedroom community that we were, but this is really important when we talk about diversifying our city's tax base.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about that, because a lot of folks don't understand the implication if we don't do this.
Most people have been listening to me over the last 3 years say that, number one, we have got to diversify the economy of this town. We have got to get commercial business. We've gone a long way to browbeat everybody in our way for the Grand Parkway. Sales, as you know, the legislature, in their infinite wisdom this year, just came out and limited our tax increases from year to year to 2.5%, 3.5%, and that's okay. We're going to live with that. They did leave sales tax, and we've said all along, sales tax is an opportunity for us to grow. Our freeway frontage says that, and our Grand Parkway frontage will say that. When I say to people, how would you like to pay for your drainage projects? How would you like to pay for your future road projects, and on and on? I think what we heard in this last bond issue is we don't want to pay for that with our property taxes. We'd rather see alternatives, think outside the box. And so we went to a sales tax because we had 1/4 cent left. It's not that harsh on the citizens here, and it's a good way to go. They passed it by overwhelming numbers, so they told us what was important to them. And of course, drainage and transportation are, and we're going to move in that direction. Now, to pay for all that we're doing, we still believe sales tax is our best bet for the future, not to burden people with an outrageous property tax. So, there is some method to the madness, as it may appear. I hear from folks in Victory Lakes that they don't want anything near them. And I try to remind them, when you bought your house, there was never a promise that nothing would grow around you. That freeway property is so valuable. Yes, it's going to create some traffic issues, but we're prepared for that. John and his staff are already working on expanding the road beds out there so that people can get in and out with a lot of ease. And we think whatever the setback problems might be, that we can overcome those. But what we have to get, and my phone rang at 6:30 this morning from somebody up in Houston that wanted to talk about whether there was an opportunity here for them.
Mm-hmm.
And we said, there's always an opportunity. We'll put you in touch with the Epicenter people, because we're not done with them. But the first thing is you got to move that sports facility over the other side.
That's
of the
what we
freeway.
said was very, very crystal clear, that we want the sports facility moved over to the other property that we own, and a bigger and better facility built, because obviously we need bigger. And then that property where the sportsplex is now then becomes the site of that convention center, restaurants, mixed use, park, entertainment, all that, which is diversifying the tax base, because right now 80% is property and the other side is 20, and we're trying to get a little more 50 60-40, because the reality is, if we don't, the burden is on the property taxpayers. There is no other way.
Let me say this to you in a way that I know everybody listening today will understand. In 40 years, if we are unsuccessful at diversifying this tax base, we're going to be the most expensive place to live.
Mm-hmm.
People will go by us. We won't have the kind of community where you can come buy a home. I mean, they're already $350,000 for an average house, but it won't be the kind of place where you can come, raise a family, hope that your children will grow up, go off to college, come back, have grandchildren in the same town that you're in, so families can stay together. And we think about that, and we talk about that a great deal at City Council. We think it's still a doable deal, particularly if we move today.
Mm-hmm.
We're taking some bold moves. And I love those who say, no. We told you that would never work, or this won't work, or that won't work, or the bond issue won't work. This council, more than any council in the past, has taken some bold moves to resolve the major issues that have been facing this city for a long time. Growth hit us when I got here 45 years ago. We were a town of 4,000. We're 115 or 106, whatever you want to believe, but we're over 100.
Oh, yeah.
And, it is what it is. We have to deal with it. We can't sit back and say, oh, it'll get better by being against everything. We have to be for something. And the part I always loved about League City is we met our challenges back in the 80s when we didn't have a sewer plant, and growth was overcoming us, and we didn't want mud districts everywhere.
Right.
We did what was necessary to build a sewer plant. Now, we didn't wait this time. We got a second sewer plant on the west side. I'm really proud of the councils that did that in years past. And, economic development is still moving along. We're still seeing 200 to 300 new businesses a year in this town. The chamber does a great job of promoting us, and we're promoting. Scott Livingston is like an Energizer bunny. He works at it every single day
to bring in the types of businesses that we want into League City. We hear a lot of no more this, no more that, whatever. We are trying to bring in businesses that are going to bring in sales tax revenue, that frankly are going to bring in folks from maybe outside the city to spend time with us. Right now, about 30% of our sales tax revenue comes from visitors to our city, and we'd like to increase that as much. And if we bring in the right kinds of places, we can do that, and that's the goal of council.
It is. And I have a long-standing philosophy through my public career. If you can get somebody else to pay for it, good for you. And it doesn't matter whether it's grants, and John's got us all strung out on grants for the drainage and roads, grant projects, philanthropic donations, whatever it happens to be. It's there. And property tax does not have to be the only way the government operates. And, we've done really well over the years, and we've dropped our property rate down 25 cents. I had a lady write me the other day. It was a great question. She said, you've been talking about commercial development for 3 years. How come that's happening? We see it everywhere. How come the tax rate's not going down?
It has actually.
It's gone down substantially. What's gone up are the appraised values.
Yeah.
And, I tell our legislators all the time, if you would just stop appraising every year, go to every 5 years, it give people a chance to catch up,
Yeah.
that I think we'd be in much better shape with a lot less turmoil. It hasn't resonated through the Austin bureaucracy yet, but I'm going to keep telling them that because that's what we do.
Well, we have one quick question before we leave. I don't want to leave this out because we do
No.
like to take people's questions.
Yeah.
Mayor, this is more of a comment, but I know you want to respond to this.
I
Mayor,
do.
let's build a natatorium. Can we partner with CCISD? I know
Well,
that you're a big fan of that.
It has to be somebody that knows me.
Yeah.
I started talking about CCISD and the partnership opportunities we might have over 30 years ago. Timing is everything
It
in
is.
politics. The school district has to be in the right spot. We have to be in the right spot. We're working on land right now, as you know, on the far west side of town. And, those discussions are going to be taking place. I am have been a supporter of and continue to be partnership arrangements. And I think the school district has been a great partner for us. They are the biggest economic driver to this city's
Yeah,
growth.
absolutely.
And they're doing great, and they're getting their head above water. And, I say to people in town, if you want to know what the limits to taxation are on our community, just take a look at the school district. The only way they can grow is to incur debt.
Through bonds,
And
build
I
new
was hoping
schools.
better from legislators this year, but, what gets done today can be undone tomorrow. But that's all right. We're going to live with the laws as they are. We're
That's
not
right.
going to complain about them. We're going to move forward. And Dr. Smith will be out to see you this year about partnering on an natatorium.
Okay, well, there's your answer to that one. Thanks, everyone, for joining us today for Mondays with Mayor Pat. Want to do a quick reminder that this Friday we have our first dive-in movie event over at Hometown Heroes Pool. Come on out and see Aquaman and play in the obstacle course. Starts at 6 o'clock, and then the movie starts at 8 with a concession stand. So come on out. As always, Mayor Pat,
Thank you.
thanks for joining me, and we'll
Yeah,
see you
my
again
pleasure.
next Monday. Stay dry, League City. Have a great day.